Hey guys, welcome to the As the Leader Grows podcast. I'm your host, Ken Joslin, where we help business leaders build confidence, gain clarity, and create community. I might just have the biggest badass I've ever had on my podcast. Yeah, my guy, Brian Nabavi, right now, entrepreneur, CEO, owner, investor, mindset coach, business coach, and he's probably got the nastiest shoulders and biceps. I definitely have had. Anthony Trucks may argue with me a little bit, but his podcast is Till You Collapse. Brian and I got connected last week or 2 weeks ago at our good friends, Tony Watley's mastermind in Cancun. Brian spoke in the afternoon and freaking crushed it. And I'm like, dude, we've got to have you on our podcast. Brian, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you got going on, bro.
My man. It was great meeting you, man. Love your energy. Yeah. Love everything about you, dude. Appreciate the opportunity. So for me, I'm from Northern California. I'm pretty much born and raised in California my whole life. And my story is a pretty long one. 13 years actually since the bottom. And really the definition of an entrepreneur that's really built something from nothing, started with nothing, and really grassroots from everything top to bottom. Started with $300 and built that into, over 8 figures in revenue over the last 10 years in an industry that I love. So I've really been through it all, and I've really taken the hard way, which is great because I've learned a lot, but the experience has been great. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about the story. That's what you want me to kind of go into. And,
dude, would love to hear your journey, man.
Lot of growth through it, man. So a lot of growth through it. I was a kid that was overweight and made fun of, so fitness is kind of what started this whole journey. I taught myself how to work out back then. I've been working out for about 27 years. I turned 40 in about a month now. So about 13 years old, I taught myself how to work out because I was tired of being made fun of. From 13 through high school, kind of transformed my body, lost about 50 pounds, put on muscle, all self-taught though. And that's the thing I really want to talk about, because everybody nowadays, I feel like, is looking for shortcuts and ways to learn quickly, which that is a smart way. You should learn from people doing what you're doing. Obviously we invest in ourselves and that's what we do here, but there's something to be said. There's a lot that you can do on your own. And I feel like nowadays more people are going for that quick information, that quick, easy information, that's a smart route to go. You should be doing that. You should be investing in yourself. But I also want to empower you guys and realize that you are capable of a lot on your own, and try stuff on your own and figure it out. And then if you need to, go other routes. But there's something to be said with teaching yourself something and trying it out. Right.
I want to ask you, like, that journey from 13 to 17 years old when you graduated.
Yeah.
Literally, you talk about being an entrepreneur, starting with nothing and building a business to, 8 figures. Had to come from a lot of the lessons you learned from 13 to 18.
Yes. And that's why I tell that's where a lot came from. And I talk about the parallels between fitness and business, because the consistency, the discipline, the work, all that kind of stuff that goes into eating healthy and training your body and all encompassing that to get those fitness results. If you do the similar stuff in business, you'll get similar results. So I always talk about to my clients and on my podcast is there's parallels between the two, that if you're successful in one, you should be successful in both, and you can be, right? And those lessons I learned, that discipline and those kind of consistent work that got me there, that's always stuck with me. And that's kind of the bare bones I talked to you about what I'm good at. I'm horrible at a lot of things. I'm only good at a few things. I take action, my work ethic, and my consistency and discipline. Really, those 3-4 things are really the things I'm amazing at, and that's kind of gotten me where I've gotten.
What would you say were some? I know you mentioned consistency and discipline. What were some of the things, the biggest lessons you learned? Kind of those aha moments where you were like, "Oh, okay, I got this." In that journey of being while you were a teenager and in high school, getting in shape and dropping 50 pounds?
Yeah. Well, the aha moments was back then it was the shit. When was that? It was the early 90s. I mean, early mid 90s. I graduated in 2000 from high school. So early to mid 90s, there was no social media, there was no podcast, there was none of this that we know now. So it was like it was actually doing, experiencing, and getting the results. So like you get out what you put in, and you get out what you put in with everything in life. And doing things when you don't want to do them builds up that grit and that kind of stuff. And those are the biggest lessons, is like, nobody cares. Like, you're gonna have to do the work whether someone's watching or not. And if you don't do the work, especially in fitness, it shows. With your physique, with someone's physique, it shows. Like, you've lost almost 100 pounds. Like, it shows. You're eating better, you're doing the work, and 100 pounds comes off you. It's not by magic. It's the reason why it happened, So, and I'm proud of you, man. You're killing it, and keep doing it. You know what I mean? I'm sure you feel amazing, right?
Hey, oh, dude, I feel like $1 million. I want to stick in this 13 to 17, 18 year old. 13 to 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
What were some of do you remember some of the aha moments in that journey, Brian, where you were like, oh, okay. Where it clicks?
Hard for me to remember back then, but I say the aha moments were as I was getting results, like the kind of stuff I just said, like, the consistency and the results don't come right away. And we all want them quickly. Right. And those aha moments is, as the results came, I wanted more, and it made me hungrier. Another thing is, during that age, I started my first job when I was 15 years old. I started in sales. And I was selling lawn and garden tractors and lawnmowers at Sears.
Wow.
And I was working with 60-year-old men that was their profession. There was people selling these tractors making 6 figures a year. It's commission sales. Wow. And I come in as a 15-year-old kid, and I start outselling them. And they were all pissed off, right? It was all pissed off. So just, I've always had the work ethic. I've always had the sales ability. I've always had the dedication. All that kind of stuff and that stems from what I did when I was younger, and just kind of my upbringing with my father. Like, those were the things that he instilled in me, that kind of stuff. Right.
Do you remember the first time you went to the pool or the beach or the lake and you're like, I ain't wearing my damn shirt?
Yeah, I do. I remember that. I remember the funny thing is I remember a lot of the girls that didn't give me the time of day, like freshman and sophomore year, they all, like senior year and right around there, they were all coming back. Right. That was a great feeling. And just, like I said, and that feeling of, being comfortable with my shirt off, that confidence that was built over, the work that was put in. Right. So I remember that feeling. That was a definitely an aha moment. And then from there, at 18 years old, I got hired on in 24 Hour Fitness as a personal trainer. And I started breaking company records. I sell in $30,000, $40,000 in personal training a month individually. I was almost selling the club's quota by myself. Wow. And just, helping impact people's lives. I love sales. I love sales. I love sales. I actually miss sales. And I still do sales with my companies, but it's not the same type of sales. You know what I mean? It's not face-to-face, one-on-one. Helping people change lives. I had clients that almost lost 200 pounds with me. So that was very fulfilling, helping people change lives. I did that for about 5 years, right before, as the mortgage boom was going. And a bunch of my buddies were, a lot of people in fitness and sales were transitioning to mortgages, back then, you remember, right? They're transitioning mortgages, and everybody was making hand over fist cash in the mortgage real estate market the way it was. And all these buddies of mine were making a crazy amount of money, like I've never heard of or imagined. And I was over here doing personal training, making peanuts, doing what I love, what I'm passionate about, but really not making money from it. So I made the mistake to chase the money and leave my passion. And I left my passion, which was fitness, and I chased the money. And I got into it, and right away I started excelling because, like I said, I'm a pretty good salesperson. And I made, like, the first month I made $100,000. And I'd never seen or made that kind of money my whole life. I've never touched that money. I was at that point, I think in a year, the most I made was 30, 40, maybe 40 grand, 45 grand, so 100 grand in a month. I'm like, holy shit. Right.
Yeah.
And I never had really had money like that. My dad was always very frugal. He taught me save, 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 save. Obviously I want to do the opposite. Right. So I got that money. I just started spending it. Like, the first I take some money, I should have been buying properties. I should have been, investing it. And at that age, I dropped $40,000 into a car, like modifying a car. Like
Right.
Cars is one of my passions too. So I modify all my cars and do all that kind of stuff. So just spending money, stupid, like, 25 years old, whatever. Like I wasn't married at that point, didn't have any kids, just young. And then, I made, within a few months, probably a couple, 250 grand, so a lot of money, still spending it like water. And then the crash happened, the whole mortgage, everything shut down. No one wanted to lend anymore. And I really didn't like the industry. I didn't have a passion for the industry, but I like money. Obviously, I like sales and I like money. And I really stuck it out. And I'm very stubborn. That's one of my qualities. I'm very stubborn, and I want to figure it out. I don't like quitting things, right? So I stuck it out for probably like a year after the crash, still struggling through it. I spent a bunch of my money, but I was still whittling down my savings, trying to make it work, but not really making any money, just spending money, right? And at that point, about a year later, we had our first child, me and my wife. I have a wife and a family, 4 kids, and had our first child. So that totally changed my life. And I'm struggling this whole new experience of having a child, becoming a father, as I'm struggling the hardest I've ever been. That's kind of when we lost at that. I kept going, almost to a fault where like we got to a.
You mean here you are doing so well, you think you're invincible.
Yeah.
You think, man, this is never going to stop. The money is always going to be there.
Yeah.
You've got a wife and a baby.
Yes.
And as a man, man, what did that do? Because your confidence is like at an all-time high.
That was because being a father and being a provider, I'm kind of old school. So I'm very prideful in that, right? I'm prideful in providing for my family and and that was basically me failing at my most important job. That's my most important job, is provide and protect for my wife and my children. So like I failed as a man, I failed as a husband, I failed as a father. That was the worst feeling I've ever had in my life, honestly, ever, hands down. I'll never forget it. And it seems like it's yesterday. And that's a little chip. That's a little chip that's right here on my shoulder. And that's why I go so hard. I have so much urgency. I have no tolerance for any bullshit. And people are like, you're so crazy. Like you act like you have nothing. And I'm far from being successful. I have a nice, decent house, a couple nice cars, a little bit of money in the bank, but I'm still very far from being wealthy, right? I'm okay right now.
Do you think part of that, Brian, do you think part of the way you think now was because of what happened in
100%, 100%, because people are blown away from my mindset and the way I act as if I have nothing. Because to me, I do have nothing. Like it could be gone like that, right? So that chip and that fear, it's fear really that drives me. I never even want to get close to that point again. I can't let off the gas, and it's hard.
I have a couple very successful people, and one of them says, go broke every midnight. He goes broke. Everything goes back to zero at midnight.
Yeah.
Grant talks about it all the time. Like, dude, every day you need to, in your mind, I'm broke. Like midnight, it goes back to zero. Talk about how, like, for you in business, how that's helped you take it to the next level. And we'll get in the journey of where you're at right now in your
for
business.
Sure.
Talk about how that's made a difference in your life, in the new venture, in the new entrepreneur venture.
It's just helped because it's almost like I'm never content. I'm never comfortable. And I'm always pushing to raise the bar, and I'm pushing to push and level up. And I feel like a lot of people, when they get a little bit of success, they get comfortable. And it's easy to get comfortable. I get it. But for me, it's almost like impossible because what I've gone through. And a lot of entrepreneurs do go through hard times. I mean, I've heard a lot of people with different stories, and that's something that's common, I feel like, between a lot of us, is we do have these hard stories. And for the most part, for a lot that I meet, we have similar, but there's also a lot that don't. Like I said, just that feeling, what you talked about, every day we go broke and never be content or satisfied with where we're at, and always knowing that if we're not pushing, we're going forward, we're going backwards type thing,
So how much more gratitude do you have now, having went through what you went through, 14 years ago during the mortgage crash?
I mean, that's immeasurable amount, man. Like, I'm grateful every day. Like I said, I repeat it all the time. As long as I wake up in the morning, I wake up, I got another chance at the day. Like, I got another chance at this thing called life, and I'm healthy. My wife and my kids are healthy, and we're all happy. That's all that matters. Everything else other than that is all extra, right?
It's gravy, baby.
Waking up with that kind of mindset really puts me in an amazing place every day. And it's just what I do, and everything. And if people could learn to put themselves in that place more often, there'd be a lot more gratitude in everything that they have, right? It's like that's one of the problems I have. I see a lot of people that just aren't grateful. They're just unhappy. And it's like, dude, you look around you. Like, you have a lot of amazing things going on, right? And they don't even see it. It's like crazy.
So bankrupt, cars repoed, kicked out of the house.
Yeah, basically nothing. So
how did you come back from that?
Start from square one. So I went back to, okay, I'm going back to my passion. So I'm going back to fitness. Fitness is my passion. I can work 20 hours a day. Doesn't feel like work. I love doing it. I live it. I love it. So I got back. I started selling gym memberships. So entry level, little just membership sales. And within a year, I moved up from entry-level membership sales to the general manager of sales to the largest facilities in the company, like 100,000 square foot gyms. So I was running 100,000 square foot gyms. I was running the sales team, sales training on memberships, personal training, phone calls, everything. And it was great. We had obviously our monthly quotas and stuff like that for personal sales and team sales. And I was excelling at that. So I went from basically nothing to making 150 grand a year rather quickly, which is, again, more money than I've ever made, other than that short stint in mortgage, which is that quick burst of money. But other than that, I never made consistent over six figures a year, So I was doing that. I was loving it. I was moving around to different clubs, and I was, training a lot of people. I had a lot of people that I mentored get promoted to manage their own clubs, which is, I feel like, as a leader, that's a compliment when people, under you get promoted. And doing a great job for the company, but I wasn't fulfilled, because one of the passions, two things, I was having more kids at this time. So I think at this point I had two kids, and I was on my way to my third. And I was figuring out that obviously they're everything to me in my life, and time is the most valuable asset as you learn, as you grow. Time. And I had no time with them. I was working 9 to 9. I was working, 7 days a week. Sometimes I was missing their sports. Sometimes I would leave and they would be asleep. I'd come home and they'd be asleep. So just like, okay. And even making what we were making, we were still struggling. It wasn't like we were just like had a bunch of extra money to do what we do. It's like, I'm making 150 grand in California with a family of 4. You're still struggling, right? Well, on that one income. So I'm like, we're struggling. I don't get any time with my family. And in the back of my mind, one of the original motivators for me when I was a little kid was cars. I had, posters of Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all this stuff on my walls. Like, I have all this going on. And then also, how am I ever going to drive those cars that I always aspired since I was a little kid? It's not going to happen here doing this, because this is almost like just spinning my wheels. So I'm like, I'm barely educated. I barely graduated high school, no college in me. So I'm like, what can I do to freedom, time with my family, do whatever the hell I want to do, and then also to own these $500,000, $250,000 cars, So it's entrepreneurship. I have to start a business. I have to work for myself, right? And this is all just me pushing myself, like me having an internal talk with myself, right? And what kind of business can I do in fitness? Because I'm never leaving my passion again. Somehow I came up with fitness apparel, clothes. So, I have no fashion experience. I'm not a fashionable guy. Fashion doesn't interest me, but fitness does. So this is kind of in the same realm, right? So I'm going to build a fitness apparel line and scale it on social media online. I'm going to figure out how to do this, and this is what I'm going to do. And here we go.
So you're stepping back out of the gym world, you're making 150, 170K a year. When you went back to your wife and said, "Hey, I'm going to quit. I'm going to go start an apparel company." What did that conversation look like?
Oh man, everyone thought I was crazy. I did it a smarter way, because what I did was I burnt the candle for both ends about a year. So I had the full-time gig, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to just quit right away, because we had little or no savings, right? And I'm building up for a year. So see that there's proof of concept and there's something here. So for a year, I literally, worked about 18 and 20-hour days. When I say that, it's literal. It's not like people say it and they're working 6-hour days. And I did both. And then, the name of the company is Till You Collapse. I came up with a name. It's a very unique name, and it's why we help be successful. The culture behind the name and the brand. If you put that Till You Collapse mindset and work ethic and everything you do, 100% effort every single day in all you do, not just fitness, but business, your relationships, your workouts, life. That's how you reach your goals, right? And so many people are putting such little effort in all they do, maybe 1 or 2 days a week, much less 7 days a week. So that's the thought process behind the name. Built it up, got to 6 figures gross within a year. I'm like, okay, there's something here. There's, a lot of businesses don't even get up to 6 figures gross. So 6 figures gross within a year. I have to, now is when I have that conversation. Like, I'm going to do this full time. And the crazy thing is, my current job was trying to offer me a district general sales manager position, where they wanted to pay me 200 plus grand a year. And they wanted me to drive around and manage, 3, 4, 5, 6 gyms. And that's even more money, 50, 60 grand more as a base, plus big bonus potential. And that little carrot, right? Don't leave, because everyone was fearing like this guy, and I'm at the top. They're like, this guy wants to quit. Everyone thought I was crazy. Everyone.
What did those conversations look like? Like, you're the man, and you're like, I ain't satisfied. This isn't good enough for me. What did those conversations with friends and family look like?
I mean, like, mind blowing. Like, they just didn't get it. They didn't get it. Like, because they all aspire. Like, I think a lot of people's goal is 6 figures. A lot of people like 6 figures, 6 figures. That's all I hear is 6 figures. Like, you're not making shit with 6 figures after taxes. Like, okay. And the thing is that's what sets us apart from most people. We're not satisfied. We're hungry. We have huge, crazy goals. Like, and that's what it is. Everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody told me not to do it. Family members, even my wife, everybody. Like, I literally had to go against everybody. And that's a hard place to be, because a lot of times when entrepreneurs get to that point, they second guess themselves and are like, oh, maybe, what I mean? Maybe these other people are right.
So how did you walk through that journey in your mind, in your own mind? How did you walk through no, I know this is what I got to do, even though every important voice is going, dude, are you sure? Bro, you're crazy. Are you don't walk away from a sure thing. How'd you walk through that process?
I just knew that where I was kind of like a hamster wheel, and I wasn't happy where I was. I was making okay money. I was still broke. I had no time for my family, no time for me. I had to do something else, or that wasn't going to change. So I knew that after a year, I had proof of concept. This is making 100 grand with half of my time. Can you imagine if I put more of my time into it, how much more it could grow? So I was betting on myself. And I have a lot of confidence in myself because my track record, like I said, I always excelled in everything I did. I mean, all my friends that went to college and got that education, I was already making more money than them, in sales. Sales is great because it's almost unlimited what you can make, Right. If I wouldn't have done that, I probably would have gotten into high ticket sales. You can make 7 figures selling high ticket stuff. But I had no option. There was no option or doubt in my mind that I was going to follow this and be successful with it. Like, there was no option B, like anything like that. So I took that leap and I did it. And it was very, very hard. It was even harder than I anticipated. I knew it was going to be hard.
What were some of the things that made it hard, Brian? Like, when you say hard, like, what were some of the things that were hard for you?
Well, just, when you're running something out of your house and your trunk, right? Just being at home, being around kids, being around the wife, distractions. And then also, like, okay, I've never been a business owner. I've never really had any training. I never invested in myself. I never had any of these seminars, classes, no podcasts, none of this. Like, it's
Yeah.
like I'm learning on Google as I go, and I'm figuring social media out. Like, this is all self-taught. So it's like, yeah, I was all betting on myself. And it was hard because, you know, the money wasn't coming in. You know, when I went from the dual incomes to just one, that was the hardest point, especially with not much savings. And when you're bringing in six figures or barely over six figures, gross, not net, gross. I'm not talking net, guys. So I literally was working 15 hours a day and this is what I really want people listening to this podcast to think about, because they see me now. Yeah, I have a Lamborghini, I have a Ferrari, I have a Rolls Royce, I have cars, I have nice things that all don't really matter at the end of the day, right? They see where I'm at now. They think I'm super successful. I'm not that successful, I'll tell you right now. But the thing is for 4 years, I worked 15 hours a day. And all you listening that are bitching about working 7, 8 hours, crying about 15 hours a day, and I was still broke. So I want you all to think, put yourself in my shoes. For 4 years, working 15 plus hours a day and still being broke and still going, waking up every day. That is a hard thing to do. And then when you have to do shit on the side, flip shit on Craigslist, flip shit on Facebook Marketplace, in order to make money on the side, not for fun, not for extra cash in your pocket, money to keep your lights on and feed your family. That's what that money was for. Because without that extra hustle, we would have been going negative, backwards, back to that place that I never wanted to go again, right?
Yeah.
And not just for a month or a year, for 4 years as I'm trying to build this company.
How did you balance that out in your head, Brian, when you're walking through all that? Was there something you consistently told you, or a routine or something that you did to help you get your mindset where it needed to be?
Yeah.
Or did it come from 13 to 18 years old?
It came from all that, man. All of the above. It came from 13, 18. It came from me losing everything, that fear chip on my shoulder. It came from me looking in the mirror, telling myself, you have no option. Your family's counting on you. There's no other option. It's on you. That's it. You know what I mean? So that pressure pushed me. I mean, a world amount of pressure, right? Talk about pressure. Everyone's counting on me. I have 3 kids at this point, 1 income. There's no option. Maybe $2,000 in the bank, period. Like, there's no other option. You know what I mean? So that pressure. Then we got to the point where we had the worst year ever. We had less than 6 figures, which was worse than the first year. We did 80 grand. Like, times were changing, social media, the apparel space was changing. Everything was changing around us. So I sat back and I had some, I looked at our company, I looked at what we're selling, I looked at our website, I looked at everything. I'm like, fuck, this needs to change, because what I saw was trending was nowhere near what we had. And like I said, I'm not a savvy business guy. I'm just a fucking guy that has this fucking passion and drive inside of me.
You're a hustler.
A hustler. Bottom line, that's
I'm
what
a
I
hustler,
am.
man.
That's it. And I love it. I love being a hustler. I'm still a hustler to this day. I never won't be. And I looked at everything. I mean, I haven't gone to business school. There was no seminars I went to at that point. I was like, I knew it needed to change. So I said, worst year ever. I went to my wife and I'm like, this is a real business. I need to start treating this like a real business. I'm moving this out of our house. I'm renting a warehouse. I'm hiring an employee. We're taking this to the next level. I'm totally revamping everything. I totally revamped our whole website, which I did myself, totally revamped our whole product line, which I sourced new products overseas, totally revamped everything. Went from charging on average $30 a product to an average of $60 a product. So literally doubled our prices across the board. And then I got all the new products, changed everything up, started promoting it, started sending it out, started getting out on social media. And within about 7-8 months worth of time of that pivot, we went from 80 grand for the year to, within 7 months time, 1.1 million.
What was that? What was that like when you crossed that 7-figure mark?
That was wild, and it still blows me away when I think about it, because think about where I had been. I'd never seen any money like that. I'd never experienced money like that. And going from 80 grand broker, like a really not good outlook, right there, to 7 months later to more money than I've ever made or seen in my life. I mean, at that point, I barely have any expenses. I have one employee under the table. $1.1 million is a lot of money with no expenses and one employee under the table. I mean, it was a good place to be. It was crazy.
I lost you, Brian.
Hello?
Okay, I got you now.
Okay. Where did I cut out at?
Going into over 7 figures, coming from where you were to over 7 figures.
And that was just wild because I'd never seen money like that before. I'd never experienced money like that before. So it was overwhelming, honestly, because I knew I wasn't going to make the mistake I made before, spending money like crazy, right? So I knew that I needed to invest it back into the company and be smart with it. But at that point, I knew that I needed more than I had. And that's when I joined, when I had, Andy and Ed as my main mentors with the Arte Syndicate and the original syndicate group. And I really got in that personal group. And I've been a member of that group since, and a few other groups. That's when I really got into personal development and, okay, I need more. I've gone to this place, but I had self-realization that in order to go further and really learn, I need to learn what the hell is going on from guys doing way higher levels than me. So I got involved in that and really learned everything I needed to kind of get to the foundation and structure in the place that I am now. And yeah, I've just been building since then, man. It's been a journey, and we're right touch under the 8-figure mark. I brought in well over 8 figures gross as far as revenue, but like as far as 8 figures a year, almost got there right before COVID. We're on our way there. And then COVID's been really hard for us. The last 2.5 years have felt more like that original. Took me back to the original, like hardship, which I actually like, because it actually, for me, I love the work and I love the hustle. So it makes me feel alive that I have to actually, not that I was easy before, but it was easier. I was building it and growing, and we were growing 75-100% year after year. That's crazy growth for about 3 years, 2.5 years. And then the adversity happens, and adversity, because I've been through it multiple times in my life, it didn't shock me. It didn't scare me. It's like, okay, I've been here before. Now we got to work through it and figure it out. So that's what we've been doing the last couple of years.
I want to ask you this. You said something earlier about I was the guy who had the Ferrari poster and the Lamborghini poster in my room. What was the first car you bought?
So the first car I bought, because the first poster I had was a Porsche 911 Turbo. So that was the first one. The first one I got. So the first car I got was a Porsche 911 Turbo.
And what was that like when you went to the Porsche dealership and said, "I'll take a 911 Turbo"?
That was amazing, man. That was like validation that, okay, what I'm doing is working. And the thing that's great is, like, everything about my story, everything I've done still is all self-made. I earned it all. No one's handing me shit. So when you earn it, there's just a self of pride that nobody can take from you. And you have people talking. People always talk as you climb the ladder of success. There's always people talking. Those negative people. They always want to put their input. But the thing is, when you earn it, they can't take anything from you, because at the end of the day, what can they say? This guy had nothing and he worked his ass off and he earned this. I mean, really, that's something that's negative. Like, if you're gonna turn that into a negative, then get the hell out of here. Like, you know what I mean? But people they'll try to do it.
Dude, I tell people all the time, when you're successful at the level that you're successful, and you're living a significant life and you're making a difference in other people's lives, the reason people act that way towards you is you expose their average. Their averageness is just exposed, and when that happens, dude, they're like
100%.
People can't handle it.
They get very defensive. It brings out their insecurities, because it's almost like everybody kind of at the core wants to be successful. We all have different things that we want, right? But the thing is, the difference is, some people all want that shit their whole life and they never take the action to get it. And then there's some of us, the rare amount of us, that actually do it, right? And then when they see that, it brings out their own insecurities, their own things they don't like about themselves, and they go on defensive and attack you, right?
So because it has to be you, because if it's not you, then they've got to look at the person in the mirror.
100%.
Last question before we wrap up, Brian. Number one, man, thanks. Honored that you're here, bro.
Of course.
How important is confidence? And what would you say to our audience today on the number one way they can build it?
Confidence is everything. Honestly, confidence affects everything you do, from every conversation you have, how you enter a room, your conversation with your team, interaction with everything. If you don't have confidence in everything that you do, people are not going to believe in you. They're not going to follow you. And it has to be real confidence. And how do you build real confidence? You build real confidence through experiences. You build real confidence through doing things. You build real confidence through losing. Because the thing is when you lose and you learn from that loss and you learn from that experience, and then you grow and you build yourself back up, and you maybe come through another hardship that you lost from, but this time you accomplish it and you overcome it. That's what builds confidence. You get confidence from doing, and that's real confidence, not the fake confidence you see fluffed up. I've been through so much shit that I've lived that's built up my confidence that you know what I mean? So it's real confidence. I know what I'm capable of, and I know what I've taken on my back, and I can accomplish anything, right?
Your expectations of yourself are higher than anyone else can set on you.
100%. I'm the hardest on myself. Yeah. Still. Yeah. I mean, every day, right? It's just, you know.
Most successful people are that way. Well, dude, thanks a ton for joining us today. I know our audience is going to be going crazy over this stuff, dude. Love your story. Glad we got connected. I actually got your guy Jeet connected with another friend of mine this morning.
Nice.
Actually, awesome. 2 people already connected, trying to get their Instagram stuff taken care of. But dude, man, I'm grateful for you. Grateful for your story. Thanks for taking time to come out today to spend with our audience, my friend. Guys, thank you for joining. Again, my friend Brian Nabavi, unbelievable businessman, unbelievable story. Just listening to him talk about the challenges literally from 13 years old to today, and the things that he's overcome to be able to become an 8-figure business owner, and really experience the life of his dreams, not just in the cars, but in the family and in his children and everything that he's able to do. But guys, thanks for joining us. Stay tuned and look forward to seeing you on our next episode of As the Leader Grows.